Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to be diving into a deeply compelling analysis of resilience. We're taking a raw, completely unfiltered look at what actually happens when a person loses absolutely everything, and then the biological and psychological journey it takes to rebuild from that. Now, to be clear, this isn't your typical corny motivational content. We're really examining total destruction here, and the truly remarkable transformation that can happen in the aftermath. So let's start things off with a pretty provocative question. Who is the most dangerous man in the world? Right? When we hear that word dangerous, our minds almost always jump straight to violence or aggression. We picture someone physically imposing, someone loud, or just deeply destructive. But what if we strip away all our preconceived notions of what power and threat actually look like in modern society? Well, it's really not who you'd think. The most formidable person is actually the quiet individual in the corner. You know the type, the one who hasn't said a single word, yet somehow completely owns the room. And according to the analysis we're unpacking today, this man wasn't just born this way. He was forged in the fire. He's someone who has been completely destroyed by life and then deliberately chose to rebuild himself entirely alone. No support group, no savior, just relying completely on his own grit in the absolute dark.
Okay, let's get into part one, the anatomy of a fall.
To really ground this idea, let's look at a 46-year-old case study we're going to call Jay. Jay played by all the rules. He built his entire identity around his career, his house, his wife, and his kids. He was that guy reading bedtime stories every single night. But watch how rapidly his reality just totally cascades. Month 1, an unexpected divorce is filed. By month 6, he's in the middle of brutal custody battles. He goes from living in this family home he literally built himself to relocating into a single rented room, working extra weekend jobs just to pay attorney fees. And all this emotional devastation eventually culminates in him spending Father's Day and then Christmas completely alone, just eating takeout. This isn't just a tough breakup. It is a complete and total demolition of his reality and his identity. Which brings us to part 2, the biology of total destruction. You see, this level of sustained trauma isn't just an emotional hardship. It triggers a devastating biological collapse. We tend to separate the mind and the body, but grief and relentless stress fundamentally alter human physiology. As cortisol constantly floods his system from this perceived threat, his body literally starts breaking down. And it's wild. Sustained cortisol at this level actually shrinks the hippocampus, which is the part of your brain responsible for memory and emotional regulation. So his testosterone just plummets, his organs are operating under immense stress, and his brain quite literally cannot rest. The sleep deprivation compounds the trauma. He develops severe anxiety where even simple tasks feel completely impossible, and clinical PTSD sets in from the sheer shock of losing his home, his kids, and his identity all at once. I mean, it is a total system failure. But here is the really brutal reality of society. The machine just doesn't stop for broken men. Despite this complete internal collapse, Jay still has to show up to his commission-based sales job and perform. He's sitting across from clients, trying to close deals, while his mind is just endlessly replaying his last custody hearing. The pressure is relentless, and as he's silently drowning, his friends slowly start pulling away, mainly because they simply don't know how to handle his immense grief. So he's being crushed from literally every direction, and nobody is coming to save him. And that leads right into part 3, the choice at rock bottom. This compounding isolation eventually pushes him to a terrifying breaking point. Just imagine the profound silence of eating takeout alone in a rented room on Father's Day, knowing your kids are out celebrating with someone else. The grief of what he no longer has becomes physically unbearable. It's 3 a.m., he's wide awake, plagued by nightmares. He realizes that numbing the pain with alcohol is only leading to deeper destruction. He tries dating, but he's just too wounded to trust anyone, viewing every single interaction through the lens of his loss, which leaves him feeling fundamentally unlovable. This is it. This is rock bottom. So sitting there in the dark, grappling with this biological collapse, the mounting financial pressure, and the agonizing absence of his children, he faces a stark, binary decision. He asks himself the ultimate question. Am I going to let this destroy me, or am I going to use it? He truly realizes, that no one is coming. But, crucially, because he is still breathing, he holds the ultimate power, the power to choose his response. As long as he's still here, there is hope.
This is where we hit part 4. Forged to the fire?
Making the brutal choice to survive, Jay begins a methodical reconstruction process, and he does this in total privacy, in the dark where absolutely nobody is watching. He doesn't wait around for motivation because guess what? Motivation is completely gone. He has to rely entirely on pure discipline. First, he commands his body. He forces himself to the gym daily, understanding that a man who cannot command his own physical state really can't command anything else. Second, he commands his mind by studying trauma. And third, he commands his finances, working relentlessly to grow a side business with the kind of intensity you only see in a man who has nothing left to lose and everything to prove to himself.
And for his mental reconstruction, he didn't just turn to, corny self-help affirmations. He studied psychology, philosophy, biology. The goal of this intense study wasn't to point fingers or assign blame. It was to map the exact mechanics of his pain. He analyzed underlying attachment patterns, his own trauma responses, and those deep-seated childhood wounds so he could permanently escape the trap. Because think about it, a man who truly understands his own internal, hardwired neurological loops can never be surprised by himself again.
Finally, we reach part 5. The dangerous man emerges.
Through every single early morning, every sleepless night, and every missed birthday, he uses every broken piece to forge something incredibly resilient. By walking straight through the fire rather than running from it, he emerges on the other side as a radically different entity. The word dangerous is completely redefined here. We're not talking about a physical threat to others, but an unshakable magnetic certainty. He's dangerous because he cannot be controlled by fear. He's already survived his absolute worst fear. He cannot be manipulated by the threat of loss. He's already lost everything and rebuilt from nothing. And he cannot be diminished because he knows exactly what he is made of.
The chaotic, desperate energy of the broken man is just entirely replaced by a profound stillness. He was once anxious, desperate for approval, and reactive. Now, he's grounded. He doesn't fear the silence anymore. Instead, he uses it as a space to truly connect with himself. When pressure comes, and let's be real, it always does, he doesn't react blindly. He becomes completely still, and from that stillness, he responds with absolute precision.
So why does all this matter? It matters because of the legacy he leaves behind. By choosing to keep going every single day, he ensures his children won't remember a victim. They're not going to remember a broken man who just gave up. Instead, they will see a father who was tested at the absolute limit of human endurance and remained standing. He demonstrates to them, without uttering a single word, exactly what it means to be a human being actually worth respecting. If you happen to be navigating your own version of this story right now, I need you to know this. Surviving and rebuilding alone in the dark is one of the most extraordinary things a human being can do. Total destruction is not a reflection of your worth. It is a brutal test of your will. You are not failing. You are forging.
The most dangerous man was once the most broken man. He healed alone, and now he cannot be broken twice. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this to reflect on. When everything falls apart, what are you building in the dark today? Will you let the fire consume you, or will you let it forge you?